All right, we are going to draw isometrics today, and it will be helpful to write down these three simple reminders as you begin to draw isometrics. Um, so go ahead, pause the video, write these three bullet points down, and you can continue with the rest of the video. Now that you have those down as a reminder, if we look at the 12 shapes that you can find on your resource page, it's important to know that with an isometric, anything that is facing this direction is designated as the front. And the front has the width dimension. Width would be right to left. Move this over. Width is right to left dimensions. If this is the front, that means that this must be, right, this direction right here, this must be the height. Okay? Of course, height would be from top to bottom. And lastly, this is going to be then the depth, right? And our depth goes from front to back. So we're going to simply count grid spaces to try and recreate these isometrics. Okay, each one of these grid spaces is a quarter of an inch. So let's start by, we're going to be drawing shape number one. I'm going to move this off to the side. This is going to be shape number one. And of course, let's start by down here at the bottom. Go ahead and put your first and last name. I like to print. You'll notice I do write in capitals just because I think it's more legible. You can read it easier. The name of this is 12 Shapes. And today's date, we're just going to put, we'll leave that blank. But you can put your period number in here. What period are we in? Okay. All right, so the first bullet item was what is, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. The first bullet point says, what is the width right to left? The overall width. The overall, how wide does it get? I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 squares is our width. Our height, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 grid spaces. And our depth, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that is 5. All right. So now that I know the overall width in number of squares, we are going to draw a glass box. A glass box is just a rectangle that has these dimensions. So I'm going to start at this top corner. Well, let's see, I need to give myself a little bit of space. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to actually start it right here. Okay. And when you draw this glass box, I want you to draw it so that it is, these lines are so light you can barely see them. Okay. So this corner is really going to be this corner right here. Okay. So I'm going to draw my height, which is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My depth, so this direction right here is also 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice that I stayed on the paper. It didn't go off to the side. And let's go ahead and draw the width. Okay, that's 8. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you could use a ruler here if you cannot draw straight lines. You better use a ruler. All right, so I've got these 3 dimensions. Now I'm going to just make my rectangle. So this is going to go down here. Again, these are very light lines. Very light lines. All right. So we drew a glass box. It's a box. It's always going to be a rectangle that is very lightly drawn. The third bullet point says draw what touches the box. I always start with the front view. The front view, this surface and that surface only is touching the box. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to darken in that L shape. Starting at this corner, it's going to go over 2. It's going to go down this way. There's my width. There's my height. Nice and straight. Again, use a ruler if you can't draw straight lines. That's what touches the front of the box. Let's move over to the top of the box. What is touching the top? Well, there's actually 2 things that are touching the top of the box. This surface right here and this surface right there. They are 1 square in depth. This one is from this corner right here. That's what touches that. Top of the box. And lastly, we are going to draw what touches the right side of the box. Okay, so right here I've got a surface. Now this is trying to trick you a little bit. This is a grid space and a half. So I'm going to make sure I want to go to a half of a grid space. Draw that up. Grid space and a half. There we go. I drew what touched the box. But we're not done. Of course, it needs to look like this. But this is going to give us sort of the foundation to make sure that things are all lining up. How you go from here is really up to you. This line and this line intersect right here. Kind of a good rule of thumb is that you're always going to be drawing parallel or on a grid space. If you are drawing off a grid space, you're probably not drawing something right. Again, I want to remind you, use a ruler. I'm going to have to use a ruler here on this one. Let's go ahead. I'm going to put this edge in. Now, this goes back 1, 2, 3, 4 grid spaces. So from the corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is kind of the line it goes back to, but it's on a half grid line. So I don't have a line to trace. So I'm just going to go ahead and use a ruler, draw that in. And now I can draw that. We're almost done. This is going to go straight down. This is going to look like that. And we've basically drawn a larger version of shape number 1. Now you aren't going to fit all 12 shapes on this sheet, but I bet you could probably fit 6. And if you only fit 5, that's okay too, but you should be able to fit 6. There is an additional video that goes over drawing another shape that you can use to get started. That shape is, I can't remember, I think it's number 7. You can use the video to help draw number 7 as well.